Like, I know that my freaking boys are going to show up here, man, as long as I hang on.
2005, very significant year in your life, Operation Redwing. For those who had not heard the story, and we talked about it earlier, have not heard your story about Redwing, hit the pause button, go on Amazon, order The Lone Survivor, and only after you read the book, then go watch the movie. And look, you've shared that story a million times. I don't want to burden your heart and mind to retell all the details of it. So I'll just kind of leave it open to you to what you want to share, what you feel like sharing about that. And
I'm sure you got some questions.
I mean,
Marines, y'all to come in there too?
I do. I have tons of questions, and I was I was on a JSOC task force in NSW at the time, so I was on the ground at the time, myself and Dave Lamone, and so when we had got the call, and not knowing it was you, but we had got the call saying, hey, there's a SEAL that got separated from his team. That's all we knew, and so I remember then it happened, not knowing who you were, not knowing what was going on, and later hearing the whole story. But I mean,
that's kind of my favorite part when I run into guys who are on the ground, because I like talking to y'all now.
Yeah.
Because there's two sides to the mission. There's, hey, especially if you're sitting in there from a warfighter's perspective, you're kind of sitting around waiting for something to jump off. Well, man, we jumped y'all into something that was everybody had to play in.
Yeah, everything stopped.
Everything.
Yeah.
I try to convey that. I'm like, hey, man, if you were in theater when this thing went down, you had something to do with it. It was like
everyone knew that.
All stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, Air Force, Marines, Army, it didn't matter. And then I periodically run across guys all the time. Like, hey, man, I was here, I did this. And then now I can put some of the names together.
Yeah.
And then I got to go to the actual debrief for the Army guys who came in and got me. It happened a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And listen to all that.
What unit was that, by the way?
Bro, don't even get me lying. It's hodgepodge.
Yeah, it was a hodgepodge.
Hodgepodge.
Yeah. Because like I say, everyone does. Like I said, I didn't know any of the details of what involved, but when it went off, like J-Bad stood down, like everybody, there's a Navy SEAL separated from his team.
Yeah.
And everything in Afghanistan shut down.
When we had the Angel go down, it took precedent. So when a helicopter, when a aircraft goes down, when we're out doing something, it gets focused.
Yeah.
No matter if there's guys on the ground or not. Our mission was top secret, and everybody that knew about our mission was on the helicopter for the most part. So when they got shot down, that automatically put a dent in the comms. No one, like I said, there's only a handful of people that knew we were on the ground anyways. So it was more of the first couple of days was survivability, just to try to stay. I didn't know all this. I didn't know the helicopter went down. That's how loud it was. I couldn't hear that sucker getting blown out of the sky.
Right.
And roll past me. Talking to the guys now afterwards, he's like, man, if it didn't matter. Whenever it came out, if you were in country on your base and you got marching orders, and some people and everyone started storming up the mountain, so to speak, and then as people fell out, they just consolidated the teams.
Yeah.
So when you get in there was Army Rangers, Green Beret, Marines, everybody. They had a PSYOPs guy in there, showed up. I had wandered so far away from the site, probably about 7 miles, I think. So where they found me as opposed to where I'd started was different.
So you moved 7 miles from where the attack began to where you're, okay.
Yeah, it took me almost a day and a half, 2 days.
You had like Blue Force tracker on you?
I had my 148. I had a radio that had the emergency beacon on it.
Yeah.
I had my strobe.
Okay.
But we didn't. The BFT was with Danny. I didn't have it.
Yeah, for those listening, Blue Force Tracker is like, the Tactical Operations Center could, if all the team members have it on them, they could see where you
It's like a GPS on your dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, to break it down for you, if we had to get into this day and age, I'd have a GPS on my collar. It'd be easy find. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure some of this stuff got implemented because of what happened to us.
Sure, yeah.
And
that's what happens.
That's what happens. That's how that's how things get fixed.
Yeah.
You don't know there's a hole till you see it, right?
Yep.
And that was one of the biggest things on my debrief when I got back. I was like, I wish I would have had this. This would have been handy. I saw this. We use this, but it doesn't work. That kind of thing. You remember when the radios that we would carry, we'd have to sync those things up to a satellite, or we'd have to program the DAMA channels and all that stuff like that, as opposed to now I just pull up a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be scrubbing that thing. Right. So a lot of times the gear and everything got streamlined a lot better after something like Redwing happened. In the beginning of it, we'd been out there for about 3 months doing reconnaissance missions and then DAs and stuff like that out in the middle of nowhere. So we were always having to fly by helicopter to get somewhere, even to do training, or it was an all-day Humvee ride. When we got set in, it was just business as usual was what it kind of felt like.
Yeah, just
And then-
RNS.
Yeah, just to recon.
surveillance.
Yeah, we'd sit there and find this guy to watch this village, and then a couple of days later, we'd radio back. Guys would come in, snatch him out of there, and we'd go do something else. It just we got compromised by the shepherds.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think about the most is when at the end, like when y'all all showed up, how y'all worked together to watch that actually go down. Because I'd been isolated. The Green Berets pulled me to the side. They juiced me up too because I was kind of busted up, so I wasn't feeling any pain.
Yeah.
I was just having kind of a good time. And they were carrying me everywhere and sitting me down, and then you'd watch them engage, and then they were on the radio, and then all the aircraft that we had circling overhead, and it was just this huge storm and firefight going off, and to watch that whole all those guys, and that story doesn't get told enough, and the reason we didn't tell it is because it's its own story.
Right.
I always wanted the guys to know that. I was like, hey man, it's not because I wasn't ignoring you, it's because this story is so great that it needs to be told differently, because I don't know it. Right. Every time I run into some guys, Marines or Army guys, I'm like, hey man, where were you at? How was this? And some of the stuff they had to go through to get to me, because I was tucked in the middle of hell. They had me deep in there, and y'all found me. So, man, never underestimate the power of the United States military, especially when they got something they want to go after.
Just watching this current administration, knowing we have Americans all over the world right now. Some still in Afghanistan. Some that got trapped in Ukraine after Ukraine evacuation. We have Americans in different countries right now that are captive, and it's like we have the ability.
That was the one thing I kept. There was a lot of times they put me in this room. I actually had a window, and I kind of sit up, and it was a straight drop, and then in the distance I could see the mountain range, and I could see our helicopters fly over it every now and again. And I remember every time because there's a lot of demoralizing situations that I had to go through, whether I was getting shot at or whatever it was, and I was kind of helpless. I didn't have a rifle or anything. I didn't know anybody, and I was injured, so it's kind of at their mercy. But I always, in the back of my head, knew y'all were going to show up. You know how powerful that is? That in itself,
Knowing somebody's to come for you
will keep you alive.
Yeah.
Like, I know that my freaking boys are going to show up here, man, as long as I hang on. I could feel that. And then every time I would see a helicopter fly over, it would reaffirm that.
They're looking for me.
Yeah, looking for me. There I am, man. I would wave, and I couldn't scream, but I'd just do, I was like, I'm right here. I'm right here. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to say there wasn't funny situations. At the time, it didn't seem funny. But, now looking back on it, I was like, man, some of those moments were it's just this roller coaster ride of emotion, right? And that's exhausting in itself.
Was there ever a moment that, read the book, you see the movie, was there a moment that you thought, I'm not going to get out of here?
There was a few times.
Yeah.
When they were using me to go or pick me up to go to the restroom, I was outside and they started taking fire, and then they moved me to this. They kind of drug me down the backside of this little hillscape and threw me into this room. There's dirt on the floor. They looked like they didn't stay in there anymore. It was and they were screaming and yelling, and there was stuff blowing up, and I was like, dude. And then he came in and it was like, he's kind of like, get ready. I'm like, to do what? I can't do anything.
Yeah.
The second time, there was another time when they were carrying me down the mountain, and I fell. And I was a lot bigger back then. And 3 or 4 of these guys tried to pull me back over the side of this cliff. And then you could see all the white lights from the Taliban moving through the hillside and everything. And then the car blew up, caught on fire. And I was like, man, dude, it's just like one thing after another.
Just compounding.
And then for whatever reason, 5-10 minutes would go by, and I'd see one of them, or I'd see something I'd think about it in my head and get past it. But yeah, a few times, man. When they put me in that hole too, they left me in this hole for a few days. And I think because they thought I was dead. I was real sick. By then I was kind of fading in and out. And I remember scratching "God will give me justice" on the wall, like from the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been in one of these moments. I was kind of I couldn't lay flat. I was laying on my side. My legs were kind of mangled in. It stuck me in this little cave. And I remember chuckling out loud. I was like, how the hell do I get in these situations? And I was looking around. I couldn't see anything but the cave wall. I was like, how did I even get into this position?
Yeah.
And then, then something else happened, and it would change my thought process. But it was tough.
As you're laying in that moment, I've never asked you this before. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody else ask you this before, so you can answer it if you want or not. But in that moment, did you know all your buddies were gone? Or did you think maybe they were in the same situation as you?
Okay, I didn't know about the helicopter, and I didn't know that everyone was dead.
Yeah.
On the ground, I knew my guys' injuries and all that. I didn't know all that.
But they could have been still on run like you.
Correct. And I didn't know about the helicopter, but this one, the Taliban got me. They snatched me up. And when they were interrogating me, he was telling me, one of them had one of the wedding rings, and they were telling me that they had killed this many people. And I was like, that's not true. You know, how would you even know that or do that? Come to find out it was true. But it kind of rattled me for a second, but then I got past it. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I would just focus on something else.
Were they good English speakers?
One of them was.
Yeah.
One of them was educated in the States. That's kind of threw me off. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Where are you from, man?
Yeah.
Florida. That's what he said. Yeah, they sure enough, man, they were clean. You could tell about the fourth day, the leadership kept, they would alternate. You could tell they were really wanting to get me out of there. In the beginning, it was just a couple of fighters, but then as it progressed, you could tell because they were clean shaven, their teeth were fixed.
Yeah.
You know, they looked like they were of elevated positions.
Yeah. They were wanting to move you.
Yeah, they were to move me.
Yeah.
Into Pakistan. Right there.
Where our allies are, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet, let's go.
Yeah.
Gotta find out, man. I've been shot at more times by the Pakis than I did by the dang Afghanis.
Guys, I'm a lifelong athlete. I've tried all kind of things, from every different diet, from all different supplements, tons of different things to make my body as healthy and as functional as possible. I heard about BioPro years ago from jiu-jitsu athletes, from UFC fighters, and they're all friends of mine who I trust that were telling me, you have to try a BioPro, and I did. I experienced a tremendous result, mostly in my sleep, to where I was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, to where I immediately went to sleeping 9 hours a night. BioPro has helped my recovery, my mental focus. I am a believer. I love it, or I would not be promoting it. If you're interested, go to bioproteintech.com and get yours